10 points for Gryffindor.
Thank you, Ray. It gave me a lot of food for thought. My partner sent me a text this morning, and they said, so this dating event is basically like a sports event, right? So I'm rooting for you. I'm Team Cassie. Let me know if you want me to tackle Ray.
I love that it's Rye that can be tackled, not any others.
Yeah, I brought one acronym, one set of initials. Ray brought like 8. But I also have a physical exercise. So a few caveats. The exercise that I'm planning to do really would need about half an hour to be done right. And secondly, I've never done it before in front of a large group. So we'll see how it goes in 5 minutes. So that's one. And then the second one, I'm going to move into the model. I wanted to add, the conversation I had with Steve on the train, one thing that I wanted to add that was stimulated by something that Erin said is we don't know quite often. And I'm speaking for women. I don't know if everybody will relate. And quite possibly men in the room might feel this way too. And again, I'm speaking in binaries. But we don't know sometimes. We don't know if we're going to planning to have sex with you. We're checking the waters. We're testing it out. The way I think of it is, you ever go to the fair and they have this thing where you smash something with the mallet and it's supposed to go to the top and it's supposed to get the clang on the bell? Well, I'm like, here's the mallet. Let's see what you can do. I don't know. But I'm not going to commit to the fact that that you're going to end up with whatever you hope to end up, unless, I want to see, and to use another metaphor, I want to see how good a dancer you are. And the only way that I can tell is by dancing with you, but I still don't know. So in the case where the man was kind of creating a little bit of pressure of like, well, these women that bring their guy up to their room and then they don't want sex. Well, that already creates a situation where it's like all or nothing.
Yeah.
And I could never go there because, it creates this huge drama potentially toward the end. But anyway, that said, I'm going to go into my little exercise. The room is pretty evenly divided between men and women. We could do this 2 ways. We could actually have roles being assigned by men and women, or we could just have it very randomly. I don't know how heteronormic you folks are. I don't know if the idea of doing an exercise that's generally about dating with a person of the same gender freaks you out or not. So by show of hands, who wants to do this exercise with men and women? Woman and a woman.
Is there if there's anyone who doesn't want to do it, I think we should have that option too.
All right, you can pass if you don't want to do it.
Yeah, we can do the
about
exercise.
what the exercise is.
You want to?
That's true.
Me first?
Yes, actually, it's very simple.
We can act it out.
Yeah, it's very simple. The exercise is going to be a following of hands. We're going to have to make do with this hand. But put your fingertips just like on my fingertips. And we're going to just move our fingertips in the same direction. There's a nuance there, which I'm not going to tell you. But that's the basic, that's the amount of touch. Like, we're not going to be grinding genitalia or anything. Okay, so does that seem something that you can do?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And if it doesn't, it's okay.
Okay, cool. We're going to divide the room between 1s and 2s. Who's going to be, okay, so just go 1, 2, 1, 2, and remember your number. So 1,
1, 2.
John.
1, 2.
1, 2. 2.
Okay, it looks like we might have an even number. So all the 1s are going to get this card. Can you hold my glasses for a second? Yeah, thank you. Okay, where are the 1s? Okay, so... Don't read it to the other person. Don't read it out loud. Don't show it to anyone. It's a secret. Okay, 1. Okay, you're 1. You're 2. 1. And 1. 1. Okay. Do we have another 1? Okay, all the 1s sit down, and I need the 2s. 2. 2. Sorry. 2. 2. 2. and 2, and 2, and we have another 2, and 2, and 2 over there, and 2, and 2, and are we done? And 2. Okay, so do not read it to your partner. These are sequence instructions. Okay. Do you want to do this exercise?
Sure.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you're going to be a 2, you're going to be a 1.
Okay.
Okay, and all right, I already know the thing, so whatever. Okay. Yes, exactly. Okay, so did you guys read the card? Do you know what you're supposed to do? Yes. Okay, so all the number 2s are going to be, you are going to go to the right, to your right, and all the number 1s are going to go to your left because you're going to be facing each other. So team up with somebody who is a different number than you, and you're going to touch fingertips and you're going to move together. Does that make sense? So in our case, we're going to, and I think that I'm going to go to my left. Wait, you're going to, yeah, you're going to go to your right. I'm going to go to my left. What's that? Both hands. Just my hand is busy. Yeah, we have 2 minutes for this. Okay. All right.
Who goes first?
Do it together. Yeah.
Tell us when to start.
Okay, start.
Yeah, 'cause I go, yeah.
I don't know. Oh, we do both hands?
Both hands, yeah, my hand is busy.
Where's your other hand, Cassie?
Yeah, 2 minutes. I think that's about right? Okay, good. Okay, that's good. Okay. Everyone sit down. Everyone sit down.
To stop following you for a second. Are you okay? So you totally read it.
All right, we're good. Let's sit down. Yes. Sit down. Okay. So, Rai, what did you experience when you were trying to do this with me?
Resistance.
Okay.
Well, I perceived that you were resisting me.
Okay. And what was your assignment?
You're in charge.
Was there any kind of expectation of how your performance was going to be rated?
Yes, it is my job to get them on track, and if my partner falters, it's my fault.
So when I resisted, how did that feel in relation to your goal?
Annoying.
Right. Okay. So I actually think this is a perfect example of the Aziz Ansari date scenario. He perceived that he had a goal, and I was just a bad partner. I was just not doing the job as well as he was doing the job. And it was his job to get me to do it better. I was resisting the goal. I was resisting the idea of the goal, but he didn't know this because that was not his set of instructions. What about you guys? How'd you guys do?
I hated my instructions. But they were the perfect instruction for even the gentle masculine. It was you're leading, stay really attuned. Oh, but by the way, it's a 2-minute exercise and you'll fail if you don't stay connected. You're leading, be attuned, but there's failure waiting for you.
I don't think I wrote failure on the card.
I don't know, between the lines.
Okay, how did it feel to you?
Well, because mine was reluctant follower, and so I was sort of following and hesitating. And then Jean, because she's so good at what she does, she's like, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" No, I'm trying to play like I'm reluctant.
Well, I was like,
No, I'm not okay, but
I was like, this exercise will not make a rapist out of me.
and it did. Exactly.
I'm going to continue to perfect this exercise. This is my first run at it. But one of the points I'm trying to make is that it's hard to have, and By the way, I'm going to get into verbal consent, but this is nonverbal consent playing out. And one of the challenges with nonverbal consent is you don't know the set of instructions that the person is operating from. And because of that, you might have a dysynchrony. One gal that was really interested in this event said, yeah, but I really, because I was telling her the kind of verbal consent I will be talking about in a second, she said, yeah, but I really like when it's kind of like assumed, and it kind of, the magic just kind of happens, and it's a really romantic kind of a vibe, which is really cool, or it could be rapey. So it depends what kind of agenda the other person is bringing to the table. Go ahead.
Was it clear how to choose what the number one thing was? If we read that out different.
Yeah, so number one was consistent. What did it say?
Yeah, the reluctant follower.
Yeah. And I intentionally screwed you guys up. You would have expected that to be the number two. So, but number twos were reluctant followers. They would show increasing hesitance and reluctance to do the thing that you wanted them to do. So the number ones, there were two different variations, and one of them was really goal-oriented, and they had added pressure that the fact that if they didn't achieve their goal, they would be graded negatively. And the other ones had to focus on synchrony and on harmony, and not on the goal. So I think that, I mean, and this is oversimplification, you can encounter all kinds of different agendas, but you could definitely have non-verbal consent with somebody who is thinking synchrony and thinking harmony. It's harder if somebody has their agenda in mind and has reasons to believe that if they don't achieve their agenda, then they're going to suffer some kind of status downgrade or something like that. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm kind of type A, and I have assumed many times that a partner is right in sync with me, when in actuality they're just kind of going along for the ride, and that's a very different space to be in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really important. Yeah, and I'll work on this exercise as I go along. I'm interested in the Q&A section, and if you guys can stick around after the event, I would really like to hear more about your impressions of this. But in the interest of time, I'm going to now go into verbal consent. And the model that I'm going to use, the initials I'm going to use, are borrowed from Dr. Evelyn Decker, who is the leader of Sex Positive Portland, a good friend of mine. And I'm using this with her permission. And I'm kind of butchering it because it's a 2.5-hour seminar, which she then compressed into an 18-minute TED Talk. And I'm going to compress it farther into like whatever the 3 minutes I have left. So ideally, once the TED Talk goes live, which will probably be on YouTube in about maybe 2 or 3 more weeks, you could just Google Evelyn Decker, stars talk, and stars is like the stars in the sky, and it's about consent. So the model is, please work?
Yep.
Okay. Oh, you should have used the red one. I'm totally winning this one. Okay, so there are many different ways to do this, and there's been several sex educators who've come up with the idea of doing a safer sex talk. What is a safer sex talk? I was coming back from a date, and I had seen this man already a couple of times. I was feeling pretty comfortable with him, and I was very attracted to him. And we parked. He parked his SUV in front of my house, and he was clearly readying himself for this awkward kind of, do I go for the kiss? Do I don't go for the kiss? What's going to happen next kind of a moment? And I said to him, okay, Scott, let me just tell you kind of where I'm at right now. I'm definitely attracted to you. I think that you're really charming. I would like you to come up. Definitely would like to invite you to my bedroom. And I'm thinking that we could potentially make out for something like half an hour to 45 minutes. I don't really have a hard stop because I don't really have an early morning, but I don't know about you. I should tell you that I got tested last time about 3 months ago, and the results were all negative. Didn't test for herpes, but I'm pretty sure that's a no. in terms of what I expect, I'm really not thinking penetration tonight. I just don't know you that well. But I definitely would be very happy to help you climax in many different other ways. I'm not really particularly married to... As I was saying all this, I see his jaw dropping. And I'm like, Scott, are you okay? And he said, oh, I'm fabulous. This is great. I had all this anxiety. But it was more information than he was expecting. But it was a great evening. And we basically... can you imagine the situation where you go to a restaurant and you sit down and the waiter comes over and the waiter's like, hi, yeah, so how are things? And you're like, things are kind of good. Yeah, anyway, so I'm taking a jazz class. And and the waiter is like, so we have salads. It would take forever to place the order, and chances are you wouldn't get what you want. So usually the waiter comes over, or the waitress comes over, the server comes over, and you say, okay, I would like the regular, and I would like this entree, and I don't want any ice in my drink, and by the way, make sure that the dressing is separate. You're very specific. Why wouldn't you be specific with something a lot more personal, like a sexual encounter? You can do it in a really sexy way. Starts by talking about STIs, which is something really important to talk about. And you start with this because if you end with this, it's probably not going to be tremendously sexy. But you get it out of the way. So you talk about your STI status. You talk about when were you last tested. We generally teach not to use the word clean if you had negative results, because we don't want to imply that people who have some kind of STI are not clean. Then you move on to turn-ons, which are a lot more fun to talk about. What's your favorite position? What are must-haves for you in bed? What are things that you really like to do? Do you like to be choked? Do you like to be caressed? Do you like to be tickled? Do you like to be called a specific name? So these are things that turn you on. And that's a really fun conversation. What's it?
Just wondering what the T stood for.
T is turn-ons, yes. Your turn-ons. And then you move on to your A's. And hopefully you're not going to spend all night on the A's, but A's are avoids. Here's a really funny nuance, which is I really like to be called dirty names in bed, but not bitch. That's one to avoid. I'm perfectly comfortable with being called a cunt, ironically, and I don't know why, but bitch, no. Bitch is a hard stop. So it's probably good that I say that, because otherwise the person might be trying to pander to my needs and then completely screw it up. I found out recently that a partner of mine does not like to be tickled. It's something that we should probably have talked about before we ran into this. So these are avoids. And then you have R. R is relationship expectations and relationship status. Are you married? Are you married but open? Are you single? Are you currently actively looking for a date? Are you in a polyamorous pod? And in that case, what are the expectations of your other partners? In other words, what can I expect from you? One of the key things is, if we have sex, does that mean that I'm going to expect that we're now going to be going steady? And meanwhile, you think that it was a fun way to spend an evening, and that was it? One of the things that for me is really important, I think Jean touched on this a little bit, is I need some kind of a follow-up, some kind of positive reassurance in the morning that as human beings we connected and it was okay. If that doesn't happen, whatever pleasure I got out of the sexual encounter is negated. So I make that very clear, which is like I need some kind of positive reinforcement that as humans we're okay with each other. And if I get silence, then it's really bad for me. So I demand that in here in the R. And then we move on to S, which is what are your safety protocols? Some people like to use condoms, some people don't. Some people use other kind of barriers, some people don't. What's your risk aversion? We could have also said risk, but then it would have been star R and it would have broken. But that's an important thing to talk about. And the key thing is that all of this can be really flirtatious. This doesn't have to be clinical. This can be a conversation that gets you really juiced up by the time you're done with it. And also, a really important point of this is to kind of define the fact that you're going to be finding things out about each other as you go along. So this is a good model, and you're going to find it online, and you're going to find the TED Talk online by Evelyn Decker, which is a TED Talk called Stars. And that's what I have. And now we're going to pass the microphone to Erin.